You're listening to Overseas Dreams.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Diamonger, and you're locked into Overseas Dreams by the Official Melody.
You are tuned in to Overseas Dreams. Once again, this is Wordplay Edition. And today, I have somebody really, really special. And I know I say that every single time, but this man is really, really special because...
I'm special?
Yes. I was told about you before I even got up here. And as soon as I saw you at Motor Pub, we'll get into that later, I knew exactly who you were.
Have a look.
Well, I had seen your Facebook profile.
That helps.
Nicholas Furious, a.k.a. Nick Fury Blackburn.
What up, y'all?
Tell the people, because I don't know how to introduce you, even though that was kind of an introduction. Please tell the people who you are, what you do, because it is mad dope. And you are a mad poet.
Well, thank you for the introduction. I like to think before anything I'm a poet. And just the love that I've gotten from that community has kind of spawned everything else. But I am team captain of Deaf Poets Society.
You are.
I am the creator of the Deaf Times and owner of the White Rabbit Lounge. I don't know, the term entrepreneur is gotten so watered down these days. Where it's like, oh, so you're unemployed. It's like, nah, like...
This man be working.
I do stuff.
He does do stuff.
But more than anything, what I'm proudest of is Deaf Poets Society and what we're doing. And, like, my career has been... I've already accomplished more stuff than I thought I would as a poet. And so, like, now I'm just kind of at the point where, like... I'm not cool. I still have, like, checklist items that I want to do. But, like, my whole thing now is, like, there's so much talent in the city that I just want the city to be respected for its talent nationally. And in addition to that, I want to make poetry a national form of entertainment that people really value because it's still kind of in the subculture genre.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean... But you know where to look. You can find it.
Oh, I mean,
and it's deep. I didn't know it was so deep.
Yeah, I mean, button poetry, voices of power, right about now. You know, there's so many different platforms now that have been doing their thing, but at the same time, COVID took out a lot of the spoken word infrastructure. You know, National Poetry Slam isn't going. We just brought back having a representative from the United States to go to World Poetry Slam. And that was its own whole little drama in the last couple weeks. And, you know, so like we're still, the Midwest doesn't have Rust Belt as a regional anymore, where we have to go to Southern Fried, which is like one of the only big regionals left other than... You know, you got the
Exit 13, something like
Exit
that.
36.
Thank you.
That's a national down in Pompano Beach. Shout out Be Eccentric. And one of the best slams out there. But that's an indie slam. So Southern Fried, and like as well known as it is, you know, we don't have the same like representation. Even Walps announced they weren't going to be coming back this upcoming year.
Oh, wow.
So, like, there's a major need right now for poetry infrastructure in a way that there hasn't been, at least on the spoken word side. You know, academias and spoken word are almost two different sports, you could say. But, you know, that's one of the other things we're trying to do with Deaf Poets Society is really bridge the gap between the two. You've seen in the last 10 years or more across the country the number of poet laureates that are actually slam champions and spoken word poets first. Shout out Roscoe, shout out Lady Breon, Masaki, like there's a lot of spoken word poets that have climbed to the heights of the poet laureate of their city or their state. So there is a crossover that's happening, but it could definitely merge better.
Okay. All right. Bad. Feel that. So, what would you say your favorite thing about the poetry scene, specifically in Cincinnati?
In Cincinnati, I mean, first I'm biased because it's home.
Well, true.
And I've been on the scene since I was 19, sneaking into the Greenwich, to perform at Elements open mic. And shout out Vernon. He's doing a lot of really cool stuff with his barbershop. He does haircuts for kids with autism, and it's some beautiful work that he does now. But he needs to come back to the poetry game because he's a beast as well. But Cincinnati, like, there's so many good artists. It's like you're new to the city, like we have a thriving poetry scene from open mics and different features and different places where you can get to perform that a lot of cities don't. And I also see the potential of where we could go. And so, I don't know. My favorite thing is just that it's home.
I'll take it, I guess. I'll take it.
I mean, it's always cool to go perform in other cities and get the recognition in other cities as well. That's something as an artist I never thought I would reach kind of that place. It was never really in my sights of I could tour and travel with poetry. And it's one of the few examples in my life where I didn't set my sights high enough, where it's like, oh shit, maybe I should have.
Yeah, it's not really something you think about until you meet somebody that's actually doing it, or you get familiar with a button poetry right about now. You start seeing people that you recognize, like, oh, how did they get on there? Where are they located? And so it sounds dope.
Yeah, I mean, when you see Button and different platforms doing millions of views for poetry, and that's kind of like where I'm the eternal optimist. Is I've argued in the age of entertainment, there's few forms of entertainment that are both as entertaining as poetry, but as what you get back from watching that entertainment.
Yeah, for real.
Not only do you get perspective, you have somebody tell your story that you couldn't put into words sometime. You're healing through others' pain, and there's something that's unique to poetry that you don't get in any other form. That in today's niche markets of Hulu and Netflix and all these things where you have chefs that can make a cake that looks like something else. You can't tell me that a poetry show wouldn't do well if there wasn't the platform for it. And right about now, and Button and different platforms are showing you that it is possible. And so, we're just trying to keep pushing those limits of what is possible.
All right. I'm looking. So, Mr. Captain of Deaf Poet Society, where did Deaf Poet Society come from? What made you be like, hey, I wanna start this slam coalition in Cincinnati?
So growing up, Robin Williams was one of my favorite actors.
Sure.
Him and Jim Carrey. I loved people that could do outrageous things with their voice and play these characters, and it was like human cartoons to me. And so Dead Poet Society was a film that I'd watched when I was younger that I'd always loved. The simple message of Carpe Diem, seize the day. The slogan of Deaf Poet Society is Carpe Nocturne, seize the night. Because most of our stuff happens at night. So,
yeah.
I'm a natural night owl, so it kind of worked for me. But so it was a combination of the movie Dead Poet Society, which had a major impact on me as a youth, to Deaf Poetry Jam, which popularized when I was in high school in the early 2000s. And that like that became a dream to be able to get on that stage and to perform with poets that literally just like I would sit there and I have all 5 seasons on DVD.
Oh wow.
Like, you know, like Mos Def, I was a fan of him from back in the day. Him and Talib Kweli with Black Star, like so like I already had a connection going in, and then around that time I had bought Tupac's Rose That Grew from the Concrete book, and I always said like Tupac was one of the coolest people I'd ever seen. Like, he just had this aura about him where, like, I don't think that man could be embarrassed. Like, he would just, like, and with that voice, I don't know, he could just say something that would no longer be embarrassing. But, so when he wrote a poetry book, I was like, well, oh, this isn't, like, nerdy or, like, uncool. Like, that's the coolest dude in the world writing poetry. Like, and it kind of gave me permission to write poetry. And so, I've always been a fan of kind of combining references as a writer, and so Deaf Poet Society was a simple combination of, you know, Deaf Poetry Jam and Dead Poet Society, and it's also a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode from, I think, 1992, but name of an episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they actually had the you know, the idea first, but luckily I was so surprised when I came up with the name that nobody had used it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hell yeah. I mean, there's all sorts of variations of deaf used in hip hop and poetry, but there wasn't the two that combined those, and I was like, this is perfect. It speaks to why I'm a poet. So.
How long has this been going on?
Me and Micaiah founded Dead Poet Society in 2023. We went to nationals, or to Southern Fried for the first time. I had been to Southern Fried the year before as part of the Lexington, Kentucky team. And that was my first introduction to that kind of environment for poetry. And I learned so much being there. And while I was there on day 3, I made a promise to myself. I was like, Cincinnati has so many amazing poets. I've seen what a lot of the best in the nation have to offer. Without being too bravado, like, I feel like Cincinnati matches up in a lot of ways. And at least we're different, we're unique. We don't sound like a lot of other poets and regions that have maybe been on the scene longer and have started to kind of adapt whatever's popular in slam today, you know.
Yeah.
Because if you study slam long enough, you start to see these trends
Yep.
of how the poets who do really well sound, and what they talk about, and you know. And one of the things I give Cincinnati a lot of credit for is we write poems about anything, and we sound very different. But it's something that people still resonate with. So.
And you are going to Southern Fried this year, Knoxville, Tennessee.
It's serendipitous because the first year as for Deaf Poet Society that we went in 23 was actually held in Knoxville.
Oh.
Yeah, and this year was supposed to be in Lafayette, but they won the bid initially to be the host city. Unfortunately, into the process at some point, they weren't able to secure the amount of funding that was needed, and Knoxville kind of fell in as a backup option. Shout out Madam President of Southern Fried. That's her hometown, and so I'm sure she had something in the wings waiting just in case. But yeah, we're really excited because we did really well our first year, and we know the city. We probably know what host hotel we're going to be staying at. We know some restaurants that we can pop into and grab a drink and some good food, and so.
Nice. All right, I look forward to seeing some results.
I mean, it's
where y'all rank.
I mean, we've got a team this year. You know, it's Our first year we went, I was the only person who had ever been to something like that, and I brought 3 rookies. This year we've got 2 rookies. Micaiah Milan's coming back, but we've brought on Lucky Lee and Just Dave, and they're both that's so much of my fun as the slam captain is I know what it did for me as a writer just to experience it.
Right.
And so, like, one of my favorite things is seeing artists that I'm like, oh, you're really good, but, like, you've yet to go Super Saiyan mode yet. And, like, you can be a Super Saiyan. And, like, all you got to do is, like, just see it. Somebody who talks to you that way that unlocks it and goes, oh, I could do something like that. And then it takes you, like, it expanded my writing so much. I found my mentor at my first Southern Fried, John Kell, Pompano Beach, Florida. And after my first Southern Fried, he said he was looking for people to mentor.
Oh, wow.
I reached out to him and was like, hey, on day 2, I saw you get a 30 with a group piece with Hero that just, like, it was one of the most impactful poems I'd seen all weekend. And, like, if you're looking to mentor people, I would love for you to help me out because, like, I need more people like that. And if you're an aspiring poet and you're trying to get better, or if you're a veteran poet, don't trust anybody in this world who doesn't have a mentor, because nobody knows shit until you're taught it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you might be a natural at something, but even the best of us have mentors that are, you know, somebody that we can rely on, that we can respect their opinion and go, ooh, this piece is dope, what do you think? And then they tell you, you change your beginning, the end, you kind of lose me a bit. You know, the middle could use a little touch-ups here and there. Like, it's incredibly useful to have that kind of, like, critical feedback as an artist, because, you know, we're artists, we're sensitive about our shit.
Yes.
But if it's coming from a person that you love and trust, then it makes it so much easier for them to challenge you to go, I know you're better than this. Like, you've got to be able to believe that you're better than this, because you won't write it until you believe it. And once you believe it, then that's where your writing takes off.
Nick Fury doesn't know this, but one day he's going to be my mentor. Listen, I've been kind of telling myself that over time. So, it's going to happen one day.
You're going to have to get in line. I'm getting
That's
busy
fine.
with that.
I'm going to shove my way to be first in line.
No, I will mentor you in a heartbeat. I love your poetry.
But you scare me, though.
Why?
Because you're, like, it's on
I've been told I'm intimidated.
level. No, it's not you. Your poetry is on, well, for me anyway, it's on another level that I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just going to tear my stuff up.
No, but we all have our own unique voice, and
That's
like,
true, and I'm still trying to find mine.
I mean, I didn't find mine until I've been in the game 20 years, and I didn't find my actual voice probably until this last book that I wrote, Man in the Iron Mask, Midham. You know, I spent the last 2 years essentially since my first Southern Fried. Everything I've wrote from after my first Southern Fried to about 6 months ago, all my best pieces went into this collection. And, you know, it was my turning point of like, oh, like, this is who I am as an author. Like, I love my first book. Hashtags. You know, I had to prove to myself when I wrote it that I was an author, like, because I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if I'm such a multi-talented person, like, why don't I have more things to prove it? And so, like, one of the first prove it items that I wanted to do was, like, I want to be able to, whether it's self-published or not, like, right. I want to be able to call myself an author. And, you know, so I got the first book out. It had a theme, and, you know, but, like, this book was, like, curated in a way that the first book wasn't. And, again, that shout out to John Kell, because I was never a good editor before the last couple years. The thing that's gotten me so much better as a writer is learning that what I come up with during my flow state and the pen's just moving and I'm just pumping out a poem, is to go, okay, sometimes the first draft is it, and
Yes.
it doesn't need work.
For sure.
But other times, if you're honest with yourself, you go,
That could be finessed a little better.
yeah, like that ending doesn't hit the way I want it to,
Yes.
or, you know, this transition doesn't flow quite as well between this thought and, you know. And so it starts to, when you get to take a little bit of the ego out and go, no, I know I can do better than this, because, and you just wind up pushing yourself as an editor, it's invaluable.
How many books have you written? Not including Men in Iron Mask.
One full collection before that. I've been published in other works as well, but I have 2 full collections, as well as the chapbook, the Deaf Poets Society 2025 team chapbook.
Okay. Well, congratulations on Man in the Iron Mask.
Thank you.
I know
First week
you've
sales
been
went really well.
Very excited about it.
I was scared to look at the numbers because I didn't want to be disappointed. And
Yeah.
I looked at the numbers, I was like, ooh, hell yeah. So
So what makes this book different from your other books?
I mean, all my books and all my poetry is like autobiographical.
Gotcha.
You know, shout out to Ephraim Namaya. He gave me this piece of advice where he said, you got to write about big world and little world. And
Break that down for me.
so, like, the little world is the hyper personal.
Okay.
And, like, something that, like, when you make this reference in a poem that, like, only maybe you and one other person are going to actually get this reference point of why this, but the audience will understand that it is a deeply personal reference. So they don't have to get the reference, they'll understand the reference.
Okay.
The big world is what I like to refer to as universal truths. Like, how can I take this really personal thing for me and make it so other people can relate to the story, which is like, why should they give a shit?
Got you. Okay.
And like one of the best examples I've had recently is my Potion Master poem is all about, you know, me being a bartender and how,
I think I've heard that one.
yeah, like it's people not respecting being a bartender. They, you know, it's like, it's not a real job, is even people in the industry, you know, we're always looking to like grow up and become a real estate agent.
I guess.
But hold on, I lost my train of thought. Damn, beer got me.
What makes this book different from your other books?
Yeah. So this book was really about the way I learned to write poems now is I write in 3 acts, very much like you would write a screenplay.
Wow.
And the fact that most slam poems are 3 minutes make it easy that you can kind of do a minute per act.
Okay.
And so I started kind of taking on this concept of like creating a climax within my poems, bringing it down, playing with the audience's expectation a bit.
Interesting.
And so I wanted to write this book in 3 acts. And so the beginning of when I started writing this book, I became well known for a poem called Gladiator. And it was, it's one of the best pieces of advice I give poets now is, if you don't feel confident enough to do it, write in character. Because you will give yourself permission in ways as a character that you never would.
That makes sense.
And so Gladiator was written initially as a character that was almost supposed to sound like the Joker. It was real pitchy and different things that I was doing with my voice that I wanted to push my own boundaries. Now, I didn't wind up keeping a lot of it, but I did keep the over-the-top performance aspect of it. And that gave me a lot of freedom as a performer. I really kind of found myself as a performer and my voice and what I needed to, what worked and didn't work for me. And so I started to write a lot of character pieces, and they were a lot of fun. And so that's like my first act is as I'm becoming Nick Fury, I'm trying on all these different masks of what works for me. How am I going to find my voice? The second act is I've kind of blown up as a poet in ways that I never expected, and my mental health is still shit.
Yeah.
And I expected all this validation and things that would make me feel better about myself by accomplishing these things. And it was, fighting with the darkness of expectation and the second act. And then the third act is kind of the coming to terms of the truths that I've learned about myself through the process of, who I really am, finding my authentic voice and being able to go yes, I'm part, Marshall Mathers, part Edgar Allan Poe, part, I have carved my own lane where I try not to sound too much like any of my influences, but you can tell they're there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I like how you mentioned Marshall Mathers. I can't tell you what poem it is, but there's a poem you're like, and I'm just like, can you rewind? Because what did you say?
Well, that was I think one of the things that influenced me more than anything as a poet that I didn't realize till recently was I was born partially deaf, and it was until about 3 or 4 years old that I had tubes implanted into my ears so that I could hear better. But during the really critical development time of hearing human language as a child, and you start deciphering and things, I wasn't taking it in the same way other people did. So, I had a severe speech impediment for a long time, and I had to go to speech classes for about 5 years during elementary school, and I get pulled out of class to go sit with 2 other people with a counselor and learn how to say my R's. And the family example that my mom loves to use is when I was a kid, I loved sausage biscuits. Actually, I love sausage biscuits still to this day.
Yeah, they're good.
But in my ears as a kid, and the way I heard it and pronounced it was da-da-bit-it. I only heard the general sounds. And so a lot of the way that I write is phonetically. I love rhyming and tongue twisters and alliteration and those kind of things, because I think when I was young, those were the only things I really heard.
Gotcha.
And so my brain works in a way that allows me to, when I tell people how I rhyme, it's I don't think of words that rhyme. I think of the sounds, the general sounds that rhyme.
True, yeah.
And with a little bit of nuance, you can make words sound like you want them to.
Absolutely.
And so it's finding that line, but that's why I've always argued I'm a spoken word poet before I was a page poet. I love my book, but poets were stage performers long before they were writers. Most people couldn't read for most of human history. So poets have been around forever. We may have been called shaman or storyteller or philosopher, but we've carried a lot of different titles over the years, but we were orators speaking on stages. And so I like to think that the true tradition of poetry is an oral tradition more than it is a written one.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I like that. And your shirt says,
Poetry will save your life.
Save your life.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big part of the book is, I've had depression diagnosed since I was around 13 years old. And, fighting those kind of dark thoughts, it's one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older is it's the blessing and the curse of the artist a lot of time. Whatever your creative passions are, without the darkness, we wouldn't be able to create a lot of our greatest works. So
that's true.
We're the ones that are, called to carry that weight so that we can metamorph it into words that and tell our story so that maybe other people don't have to go through the same thing.
True. Makes me think of Lupe Fiasco's song "Hip Hop Saved My Life." I'm like, poetry saved mine, but okay.
Shout out to Lupe.
Lupe's dope.
He's one of my favorites.
I think he used to be. I haven't kept up with him though.
He his last EP album, I'm not sure, Samurai. Woo!
I haven't kept up. I really need to like go back. I know. I need to go back.
Look,
and
you
listen.
got like an hour drive home after this. Samurai's like, it's like a 40-minute album maybe. So like you can listen to the whole thing on the way home. Like, it's dope. It's very lyrical, Lupe.
Yeah.
It's the same dude who produced the album that produced I think it was Tetsuo and Youth.
I barely remember that one. I remember the cover art, but I barely remember the music on there.
Yeah, Lupe, after the Lasers album, went full fuck the industry and was like, I'm going to make music that I want to make. And respect to him, because he's been pumping out albums of what he wants hip-hop to sound like. And sometimes I fuck with him more than others, but like, I respect his artistry more than anything.
For sure. I'm going to check him out, because Nick Fury said I have to. I'm going to check him out.
I am a hip-hop fanatic. I always joke.
Oh, I know.
I never studied poetry. My writing teachers obviously taught me some shit when I was in high school and my creative writing classes and whatnot. But I've always said that rappers, hip hop artists they've taken creative language and taken it to another level in the last, essentially 40 years that in all of human existence, we've never been this lyrical, rhymes didn't do what they do now, double entendres and, there's things that writers do now on such an exceptional level that like you didn't see. Like, shout out to Shakespeare, he's dope, but he wasn't doing work like this.
He was no Kendrick.
Yeah. He's not like us. I don't know.
There you go. Not my favorite, but hey, the world loves it. So
no, I'm with you. It's like, I get it. As far as like Kendrick goes, though, like I feel like he's. I've never been a fan of E40's delivery style.
I haven't either.
And he's just rapping like E40.
I get what you're saying.
Like, so like, yeah, like it's super West Coast. I get it.
Yeah,
but like that wasn't
super.
That wasn't like the West Coast that I fell in love with. Like, I'm more of the Tupac, Snoop, Game, like early Kendrick, especially. Like,
yes,
my favorite Kendrick album this day is Section 80.
You are the only other person I know to say that.
It was. I mean, I respect everything that's come after that, and I have a lot of great albums, but like, if you want me to order Kendrick albums, Section 80
is number one, hands down. And that was the first album I listened to by him. And he had other stuff out at that time. I was a late bloomer, but yeah, that's what it is.
A lot of artists' first albums are their best because like, they've been working on that first album for like 10 years, like cultivating their craft to make that.
I got that.
And then like every album after that, they was like, it's been a year or two on it. Like it's dope, it's good. But it ain't that first.
I think, I don't know if you did one that night or two, but this was the one that stood out to me. When I saw you at Motor Pub, this had to be March of last year. I remember you did They Say Poetry is Dead.
Yeah.
And I was just like, because I had been to your Facebook page, but I don't know if I watched any whole videos.
I've rarely put
but enough
whole
to know
poems
what
on there.
you look like.
Yeah.
And I know the background. I now know that the background was Japs. And I was like, when I first got to Japs, I'm like, this is where Nick Fury stood. But yeah, you
I
did
got some
that
videos
one
at Motor
poem.
too. I like that curtain backdrop at Motor.
Forget the curtain. The artwork on the walls. Madness.
You don't get that in the video.
True. I heard that poem and I was just like, oh, this dude's dope. I already knew who you were, but it's like, I have to say something to him after this. I was like, that poem is, I like that. Like, and your poetry is dope. Your delivery is dope to the point where people have to shut up and listen. You command attention. You do.
It's I call that the growth of like a few years ago, and like once like the Greenwich wasn't hosting poetry regularly, like there was a long time where I was performing where you're doing poetry at a music and comedy open mic, or you know, and the one of the things that I've been so hyper focused on for our shows for Deaf Poet Society is like, no, we are poetry specific. Like, we're going to train our crowd to be the most warm and engaging crowd for poets, because like we want to bring the poet out of people,
Right.
and give them permission to do it. And so like my whole thing was really like Gladiator was like, I start off by like yelling tonight, like at the top of my lungs damn near, because like it makes everybody shut the fuck up and they go, what the hell is this dude doing? You know, like it became like, you got to a point where like I've been doing a lot of open mics and it's like, okay, like how do I get them to listen? And so a lot of it just kind of came out of that, is like the need to get the room to shut up. Gotcha. And like make you appreciate poetry in a setting where you might not be ready for poetry, which is a challenge. You know, if you're vibing to, you know, 3-4 hip hop acts in a row, a comedian's got the room light, and you come up there and go, hi guys, I'm going to talk about my depression.
Oh, okay.
Like, vibe check. Like, why are you killing the room? Like, it's like, no, I'm not trying to kill the room. I'm just trying to take it in a different direction.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that's where, like, even Gladiator, which is a poem about not feeling worthy and everything that goes with that, but then finding that worthiness on a stage. And
that's real.
Finding that validation through going to open mics and getting strangers to come up to you after a show and be like, oh my God, like, your words move me. It's like,
yeah, that's a weird feeling.
It is. It's so weird.
It's amazing though.
It is. But as an introvert, like, one of the weirdest things is getting recognized. Like, you coming up with like, you're Nick Fury.
I know. Because it's weird when people come up to me. I get it, as I'm very introverted.
No, but like, it's of all the things that if you would have told me like that, I just never would have thought like this slice of fame that I have is like, like, I feel bad because I'm like, I don't know your name. Like, like, you know mine. I feel like we're on an uneven playing field. Like, hello, yes, I'm Nick. Who are you? Like,
I guess I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not Nick Fury, so there's that.
Oh, you're gonna be better.
I'm making you feel worse. I'm sorry.
No. Once we unlock your Super Saiyan, you're gonna be better than Nick Fury.
Oh, pressure. No pressure. No pressure.
I mean, you could be Queen of the Love Poems.
You know what though? Cause see, that was my specialty. It still is. But over the past year, I've diverted into other things. And I never thought I was capable, because I don't really write about social issues, and every now and then I will. I wasn't writing about depression. I wasn't writing about my own, self-realizations or how I even felt in comparison to other poets, because yes, I do compare myself to other poets in my poems. If I'm being honest, we all do. I wasn't writing about that. I was strictly just writing about love and heartbreak. But I do want to unlock something that goes beyond love. as far as like, you know, my Jedi moment,
I started out as a love poet.
but you notice that lately I haven't been doing them. I
Right.
haven't been writing them. I guess I'm in a
Have you
different
been lacking inspiration?
phase. No, I'm not lacking inspiration. I just
You've moved past that. You like, not that
maybe.
it's not something that you still wouldn't write about, but
I
like,
still do.
right. But the hunger in your pen is now to like, okay, like this is the fun part in being a writer, is where you start to challenge yourself.
I'm trying to challenge myself right now to write more haikus because that makes me count, and I don't like counting when I write. So
I hate
that's a
haikus
struggle
because
for
I'm
me.
long-winded. I can't. 18 syllables. Get the fuck out of here. I can't.
I don't like count. Like if I have to think about it and count while I'm writing, it's gonna feel forced. So I don't know, but I'm gonna do it.
See, I spent like probably 2 years as a writer where I didn't flow as well as I wanted it to. Again, being somebody who studied hip hop, like one of the things that hip hop artists do is they syllable count.
See, I don't. That's no.
And if you can make your syllables count, you can, or match, then you can stay within a time frame without things sounding off. And so I spent a long time like counting syllables, and that made me a much better editor because it's like, okay, I said this line in 15 syllables. How do I say it in 10?
Goodness gracious. That's why Nick Fury is gonna be my mentor.
You know, it's all just figuring out
pressure.
your weaknesses.
I'm sure I got plenty of those.
We all do.
I'm just now starting to find some strengths.
Yeah, but you got to find the weaknesses that you like actively want to get better at. Like, again, I love alliteration.
I do too.
So like,
That's something I do want to try to focus on as well.
yeah. So I spent like 6 months writing literally nothing but alliteration poems.
Ooh.
I heard Papoose do alphabetical slaughter, and I was like, and so like everything I wrote was like I need to, but pull out a dictionary, pull out a thesaurus. Like,
I did that the other night.
yeah, I mean, just any great writer, it doesn't make you better to not use the tools that are at your disposal.
True.
You know, like I don't know what, when I first started learning how to rhyme, I would use an online rhyming scheme thing where it gave you the basic true rhymes because I didn't know any better. I needed somebody to teach me. So like now I don't really need a dictionary as much, but like you know, when I did the Z alliteration and Rebirth is Poetry Dead, like I had a fucking dictionary open. Because I was like, I think I know the definition of this word. I want to make sure I don't sound like an idiot if I use
in the
it.
right context. Oh, I go through that all the time.
Yeah,
All the
like
time. All the time. For
so,
sure.
you know, it's use the tools that are at your disposal.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
And I can be a tool at your disposal.
You are. What does the future hold for Nicholas Furious? That is like my nickname for you now.
Furious one.
The Furious one.
This summer I'm going to apply for Man in the Iron Mask Minimum to be considered for a Pulitzer.
Gotta grab that book.
Not that one. That's the Deaf Poet Society
That's Deaf
chapter.
Poet Society.
Man
have
in
a
the Iron
book on
Mask
you.
by Nick Fury is available on Amazon right
There
now
you
as we
go.
speak.
Well, you guys get this one too as
Yeah.
well.
But yeah, so I'm gonna apply for a Pulitzer consideration just because I think that sounds dope, and I never thought I would do
That
it.
does sound dope.
You know, I'm hopefully like my big bucket list items still are to get a button poetry video, get a right about now, get on Voices in Power.
Hit on
you know.
Voices in Power for sure.
These are like bucket list items. My number one bucket list is to do Amateur Night at the Apollo Theater. That from being young and watching it, and just like how cutthroat the crowd can be. Like if I can win that crowd, then I can win any crowd. So that's always my number one bucket list item. But outside of that, it's just I can't wait to see Micaiah Milan at Southern Fried this year and to see what she's about to do. Lucky Lee, her first Southern Fried, and seeing her not only get the validation of the national audience, but to see and meet other people that I know are going to inspire her more than I ever could. Just Dave coming for his first Southern Fried, like the things that we're building right now with Deaf Poets Society, like I believe that we can be the next Button Poetry, the next Voices in Power, the next Right About Now, and hopefully even do it better, and try and do some things that haven't been done in poetry.
And congratulations on the launch of the websites.
Thank you. Yes.
Dopeness.
Yes, we've got the Deaf Times launched. DeafPoetSociety.com will be launching here in the spring. Plenty of merchandise available. You can go on 820media.com.
Yes.
Get some of Just Dave's merchandise right now. Like I said, my book's available on Amazon. Both my books are available on Amazon. Nick Fury Blackburn, hashtags, MITIM, MITIM. But yeah, a lot of cool shit.
That's what's up. I love you.
I love you too.
I do.
I wish you lived closer.
Well, you know.
I live as far away as
exactly.
you. So
So he didn't want to tell you that.
But I can say that. I can say that. Because I'm your mentor.
Uh-oh. It's official. Right here, Overseas Dreams Wordplay Edition. This is January 16th. Nick Fury has said
Lawyer
that he is my mentor. It is official now. You have said it. It's on YouTube. It's on SoundCloud. No going back.
Damn it. Did I already tweet it too?
Yeah, it's no going back.
Shit.
No
All right.
reneging. Oh,
I'd never.
This is not spades. You cannot renege.
No. I grew up playing spades, so like
It's
I know
official.
that's
It's official.
you might as well no.
It's official. I appreciate you.
Thank you
being
for
on
having
this.
me.
Absolutely. Thank you for talking to me. And now, well, the world already knows who Nick Fury is, but they'll know him a little better.
It is fun. I haven't done a long form interview like this, so it's cool to be able to chat about some of the philosophies and some of the cool stuff that we've been doing. So thank you.
And y'all keep up, because he just put this book out, but my spidey senses are telling me that you have a couple more. That's just how I feel.
That was the hardest part about the first week was my mind was literally going, all right, well, you released it. What's your next book going to be about? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Let me enjoy this.
Yeah, give it some time.
Brain's like, nah, fuck that. Like, what's the next book?
Wow. Well, congratulations on your release. I know you're going to do well. And can't wait to see what y'all do at Southern Fried.
Hopefully making final stage and taking home. But, you know, either way, what I told my first Southern Fried team, I was like, I would love to win everything, but what's more important to me every time I go to Southern Fried, I want to have more fun than any other team down there. Like, we're about to enjoy the shit out of this trip. Like, and we're going to meet a bunch of cool people. And, like, yeah, some of the times are heavy, but, like, this is some of the most fun you're going to have in your life. And to focus on that.
I believe it. I might try to sneak down there myself. Like, seriously.
We could use somebody to document some stuff for us. Overseas Dreams Radio, live from Knoxville.
It is only the best radio show on Earth and in space. So, you know, why not?
Why not?
Hey, listen, don't tempt me.
I'm tempting you.
Don't
tell me not to. That's one of the worst things you could do is tell me not to do something. It's like, oh, bet.
I might sneak down there.
All right.
I might try. I appreciate you for joining me. Y'all, till next time. Peace.
Dreaming overseas, still bumping Q, just chilling in the V. Drinks on me in the VIP. I be chasing cream, now I'm dreaming overseas. Yeah.
Gotta get this money now.
case you catch me.
You're listening to Overseas Dreams.